What's up, everybody, and welcome back in to the Philly Sports Power Hour on this tough Tuesday with the realization that the Philadelphia Eagles season is over a lot sooner than all of us expected. At least all of us expected a few weeks ago. I think a lot of people expected it to end after what we've seen the last couple of games. But let's bring in our Eagles insider, Dave Spadaro, to the show. David, what's going on, my friend?
Good morning. Hey, just feel terrible this morning and crappy game, crappy end to the season. And, just super disappointing to think that 2 months ago the team was 10-1 and still looking for that, that defining game. And who knew that it would be the loss to the San Francisco 49ers that really kind of revealed what this football team was all about. And then from that point on, just a really tough 2 months of football.
Yeah, it really has been. And Dave, first let me say, man, I really appreciate that every week, win or lose, you come on this show and talk to us about the Eagles.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a fun
Thanks for having
season
me.
this year. Yeah. Well, let's
Look,
talk.
I know how the fans are feeling. I mean, I'm a fan. I'm a part of the team. It's a shitty feeling right now, and but I certainly understand how the fans feel, and it's shocking the way that this season turned around. I don't think at any point, you and I talked through the year, like you really felt like the Eagles were where they wanted to be, even though the record was there. You kept waiting for that game, right? 60 minutes of great football, but to have it go the other way. I mean, I don't. Did I ever bring up the 1981 comparison?
I'm not sure, but it is very similar.
So very similar, right? That team started 6-0, 9-2, 4 straight losses. Win the final game of the regular season, lose to the Giants, and then season over. Now the key is that the Eagles don't go where that team went. 1982 strike year, Dick Vermeil retires, burns out. Eagles don't win a playoff game again until 1992.
Oh boy, come on, Dave. Couldn't take
Well,
it. Dude.
I mean, look, I'm not suggesting that, but I'm saying that you cannot think that anything is just, you don't snap your fingers and get right back in the game. Not with a team that looks like it has a lot of improving to do.
And I know players say it a lot, coaches say it a lot, that you can't take anything for granted, that it's so hard to get to the Super Bowl and to win a Super Bowl. And why I keep getting so sad today is I keep looking back to, and I said it earlier on the show, 337 days ago, we were up 10 in Super Bowl 57. It was there, man. It was there. And now, less than a year later, that feels like it was 100 years ago, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I always said that about the Andy Reid years, that the biggest crime of that era of Eagles football was that it didn't win a Super Bowl. Very good teams that were in the game, in the hunt every year. And then you realize how fleeting that is. And certainly February 12th, 2023, I'm at halftime and Rihanna's out there on field and she's belting out her big hits. And I was in a great mood, thinking that Patrick Mahomes was hurt and that the Eagles were playing good football and that the defense was going to be good. And you look back and you go, man, that was the team. That was the best team in the NFL. No doubt. I have no doubt. But they were not the best team that day. And how quickly things change right now, because it does, Bill. It seems like yesterday. It also seems like so far away.
And I know you're not immune to the outside noise. I know you hear the fans. I know you see people saying that Sirianni is going to lose his job, and I'm not going to ask you that, obviously. But what's the schedule like now, Dave, if you know? When will we hear from Jeffrey Lorie or Howie Roseman about what the future looks like for this team? Can we expect?
So, yeah, I don't really know that yet. It hasn't been established, but there's no media today. And, they have a team meeting midday tomorrow, and no media has been announced yet for tomorrow. It's usually, that tomorrow would be the clean out day, the locker. Everybody goes in the locker room and cleans out. As far as when we would hear from anybody, that has not yet been established.
And let's talk about a guy that we haven't heard officially yet, but it's being reported that Jason Kelce may have retired. And just tell us, Dave, what Jason Kelce has meant to this team, this organization.
Before I do that, like, it's just, in a way, it's a shame that the way the media works right now, it's no fault of anybody's, but like, Jason tried to have a really private moment with his teammates.
Yeah.
And should have the opportunity to stand up in whatever platform he wants and announce his retirement. And instead, it's being reported now today. So that, by the time that he announces it, it's kind of like, well, we already knew that. And that I find that to be a shame, because Jason deserves to have everything that he wants and the way he wants it. Because for somebody like him, who's given so much to every single one of us in every single way, I mean, the epitome of a Hall of Famer in every single way. Great teammate, great player, great mentor, great leader, a young player who learned his way, who came into the NFL as an undersized guy, started right away, went through some coaches, has been an unbelievably great football player. Within the organization is incredible. Never says no to the media. So great to work with. A role model as a husband and a dad. The way he interacts with fans. Anybody who's ever gone down to the Eagles Autism Foundation event in Sea Isle in the summer knows that. Always takes time for the fans. He respects the fans. He understands how important the fans are and what they mean to him. So, I mean, there's, of all, the years and years that I've been doing this, there are a few players who stick out. Troy Vincent sticks out, to a degree. John Dornbos, not at the level of Hall of Fame player, and Jason Kelce. And, the connection that he had with the fans, incredible. I was the MC of the Super Bowl parade, the Parade of Champions, and to see Jason go up there, we were all kind of going like, well, first of all, at 8:00 in the morning, he walks in with Bo Allen, and he walks in with a 30-pack, and he's wearing the Mummers outfit, and he goes up on stage, and we were like, what the heck is he saying here? And somebody nudged me and said, hey, Dave, you might want to get him off. I'm like, are you crazy? That this would be the most, like, the death knell. You do not interrupt Jason Kelce at this moment. And he delivered a speech that is epic, all-timer, great, and just came back and played great football. And to go out in this season, if that indeed is the case, playing at the level that he's playing, remarkable football player. And all of that should not be forgotten. The level of football player he is, will be, Eagles fans, I know that you cherish every moment of Jason Kelce. Just take some time to kind of reflect on it, because it has truly been one once in a lifetime kind of player.
Yeah, it really is. And to be an all-pro this year, I just hate the way his career is going to end. I'm going to always have that.
Well, look, I mean, but you step back, Bill. It ended. It was an ugly loss on Monday night. Agreed, but he was in the playoffs again. He was on national television. I mean, like, you have to put it in some perspective. This is why you never take being in the postseason for granted. You don't take any of this for granted. You don't take that the Eagles are going to come storming back. There's a lot of work to do. You must, and that's what's so disappointing about, what's happened here in the last 12 months, 11 months, is that they were on the 30 minutes away from a Super Bowl. And then you come back and you battle through everything, and it's really hard to come back, and you're 10-1, and to see it collapse. I mean, it really, these moments don't happen all the time. We in Philadelphia, look, I mean, Jeffrey Lorie's been a great owner, 20 playoff appearances in 30 seasons. That is very, very rare in the NFL.
And speaking of Jeffrey Lorie, I had read some reports, this was before the Bucks game, that the fact that we hadn't heard from Jeffrey Lorie, some people in the media were saying, oh, well, Jeffrey Lorie could have came out and said Sirianni's job was safe, or it could have been leaked out that Sirianni's job was safe. And the fact that they didn't means that maybe his job wasn't safe. My thoughts on it, and I'm curious if yours is, we never hear from Jeffrey Lorie during the season.
Correct.
Right. I mean, he's always a guy who waits.
Yeah. Hey, look, he's consistent with what he's done year after year after year. So if there is anything to say, Jeffrey will say it. If there's not anything to say, we'll hear from him at the owners' meetings in March. But that's the way he's always done it. He's always had a state of the team in March, and has stayed out of the limelight, out of the spotlight. And for that is one of 80 million reasons Jeffrey's a great chairman CEO.
Now, you mentioned March, the owners' meeting. If there's not going to be a change to the coaching staff, will we not hear from Jeffrey until March, or do you think he'll talk in the next?
I don't. That's not me for me to speak on. That's Jeffrey to set his schedule, but historically, I don't think. I mean, we heard from Jeffrey last year at the Super Bowl, or did we? I don't even remember if we heard from him at the Super Bowl last year. I don't think we did. We didn't hear from him after the game, and we didn't hear from him after the Super Bowl until March. Because he opened up in March saying we'd really love to have that, minute and whatever it was, 43 seconds left to get one more drive out of Jalen Hurts. But they called the pass interference penalty on James Bradbury. So, yeah, I mean that's kind of the way he's always done it.
So Jason Kelce most likely is retired. We'll hopefully get an announcement from him soon. But there's a couple other veterans on this team. The other top three most games played in franchise history. You have Kelce, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox. Graham has said after the game he would like to come back. Do you see that happening? And what about Fletcher Cox? Do you think he'll play another season?
I mean, I don't know what the Eagles' plans are for those two free agents to be, but they are still looking to play more football in the NFL. Whether that's with the Eagles or not, I have no idea. We saw Fletcher have a very unusual situation last year to come back. But look, I mean, two great football players Brandon had a nice game last night, and Fletch had a good season. BG is a very positive influence and in a role can be a productive player. And so I think the rule of thumb in the NFL is you generally play until your body just wore out. You just don't have it left. You can't go get yourself ready to go for another season, or none of the 32 teams are going to pay you anymore. And I would imagine that there is still a market for Fletcher and for BG. And I mean, it would be great to have them back. I mean, I love them both. And from a leadership standpoint, from a role model standpoint, there's a lot of work to be done on this football team. And I don't think you go wrong having Brandon Graham or Fletcher Cox in your locker room and on your football team.
So we knew coming into the season that the Super Bowl hangover that had been discussed was kind of a real thing. There wasn't many teams that were able to get over it. But one of the things that I kept hanging my hat on all offseason was this veteran leadership and this culture that had been built. And everything you had heard about Sirianni over the last couple of years is how strong of the culture was with the Eagles organization, and especially because of these veteran leaders. But it looked like over the last few weeks that they didn't have that resiliency. They didn't have that ability to overcome adversity. We talked about earlier, after that 49ers game, they were never able to bounce back. What do you think happened?
Well, certainly, I mean, look, we've talked about this. You find out about your leadership in times of difficulty. And so, the Eagles have to step back and look at that and say, what did happen? I don't have an answer. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, look, I know that the 1994 Eagles, I was there, and Rich Kotite's team was 7-2, and he was looking for a new contract and boasted to the new owner, Jeffrey Lorie, about being 7-2, and they lost 7 straight games. But that wasn't a team that you really thought was a championship caliber team. This was, and to see it fall apart like it did raises a lot of questions. And that's why this is going to be such a critical offseason for the Philadelphia Eagles in franchise history. I think it's a very significant pivot for the Philadelphia Eagles, and they've got to make some tough decisions. They've got to make some great decisions and find a way to get this team not only back on course for 2024, but to build and sustain. And, when you look around the NFC, you see a team like the Rams building with young players, the Packers still alive with all their young players. The NFC East is kind of a mishmash of teams, with Washington looking for new leadership, new coaching, Dallas with their collapse in the playoffs, the Giants with a really bad 2023 season. The NFC East looks like it could be there for the taking, certainly in 2024, but the rest of the conference, and Seattle with, going in a new direction, but with a bunch of young players and draft picks and so forth. So the Eagles have to really get it back on track in a sustainable fashion. And so, you look at what happened and you kind of go, all right, let's be rational here. Let's not rush into anything. Let's think about what did happen here. How do we correct, this 7 losses in the last 8 weeks?
Yeah, a lot of decisions need to be made, coaching decisions, because we didn't talk about the coordinators. We'll see if any changes get made there. There's a lot of free agents this season. I know a lot of guys are coming into the final years of their deal as well. Preseason, there was some chatter that Reddick wanted a new deal. So a lot of things need to occur. But I'm sure, as sad as we are right now, we'll all get our second wind. We'll get excited for free agency and then the draft. But 200.
That's usually the cycle. That's usually the cycle of life for a football fan. And but yeah, it's a really pivotal offseason. I don't take it lightly at all. I think it's a really critical, what is the next step for this franchise kind of offseason.
Well, Dave, like I said, man, I do appreciate you coming on, win or lose. It's been fun. Hopefully we can still keep connecting on the show.
Of course,
Some
always
things happen, but
always, and it's always go Birds. And thanks to all the fans. I mean, it was a tough year for everyone. A lot of roller coaster. Great wins in that 10-1 start, and then it's just a really unfortunate collapse. And so, all the love to all the fans always, and go Birds. And let's see what the Eagles do here in the days to come and the weeks to come, and how to get back on track for 2024 and beyond.
It'll be interesting. Thanks, Dave. We'll talk soon, my brother.
All right, Bill. Thanks so much.
So that's Eagles insider Dave Spadaro. So we'll learn more, hopefully, over the next couple of days about what's going to happen with this Philadelphia Eagles team and the coaching staff. And I want to talk a little bit more when we get back about some of the questions with this roster already that need to be discussed. So stay tuned, guys. Hit that like button. We'll be right back.
Go to get your game